Hello, friends, benders and non-benders alike. Welcome to Braving the Elements, Nickelodeon's podcast about all things Avatarverse. I'm Janet Varney.
And I'm Dante Basco. And Varney, it's not like I like to make things about myself.
Go on.
No, but
Go on.
But I mean,
where's this going?
In talking about this week's episode, I just have a sneaking suspicion that it might be. I have a little something to do with it.
I don't know. I can't imagine why you would think that, since all we're doing today is, I don't know, talking about how there are some good people in the Fire Nation.
I mean, I think it's very cool of you. And, you know what I've always said.
There are some good people in the Fire Nation.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, certainly. No, you absolutely have said that. And as you just saw and heard, friends, we're not going to be doing this by ourselves. We are joined by wonderful guests, fantastic super fans to Braving the Elements. Today we have Amy Tess-Gerges and Lexi Henning.
Yes,
What's
welcome.
up?
Welcome. Should we'll do intros? So
Yeah, please.
Amy Tess-Gerges is a political organizer, communication specialist, and a PhD student. She researches labor movements and is passionate about storytelling, which means, of course, that she's been a huge Avatar fan since the very beginning.
And Lexi Henning holds a BA in Classics and an MSc in Southeast European Studies. In 2020, she co-founded the nonprofit organization, the Osmandius Project, which we'll talk about more in a sec. And she also hosts and produces the Legacies of Ancient Persia podcast for UCLA. I think what we've just established is we are so outclassed and outbrained
I don't know what's going
for this
on here.
episode that we can just sort of shut down and let these ladies take over.
There's a lot of degrees going on here. There's a lot of
we're
degrees.
Good. Yeah.
I'm getting my degree right now, PhD in Avatar.
That's right. Oh, wow. You've bumped ahead. I thought we were just getting our master's.
Is our master's?
And now you're going to a PhD.
I
All
thought
right.
that was
You know
just
what?
PhD.
At 1 degree per season, we're at a PhD level.
Exactly.
I'm sure this is just like getting a PhD, right, everybody?
I would absolutely say you're at a PhD level.
I think
some
it
serious.
is.
No, you're
you
right
guys
on
are
track because master's is usually 2 years, right? so
Okay,
2
yeah,
seasons,
yeah.
and then PhD starting at year 3. So
Exactly.
you're
Exactly.
You did it.
That's what we're
First
doing.
year
I can't
PhD
believe
student.
you knew it. You got a PhD in PhD.
I know. I'm going to get a white jacket or something.
You need me to talk to you and say doctor?
Yeah.
Dr. Bosco?
And you all go to Comic Cons
Varney.
and do live recordings too. It's basically conferences,
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
True.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we get
no,
into
I think you got
arguments.
it.
Don't you have to argue stuff when you're getting your PhD?
I know
Like
so
you're
much
arguing your
stuff.
thesis?
Yes. You know, you got that big defense at the end.
That is what
Dissertations
we should do.
and stuff like
That's
that.
what we should do. We should do an episode. Now, that being said, I've already planned out the entire season, but it would be fun to do an episode where we're like arguing our thesis, like what area of study. I already know what this. You know what? This episode is your
This
thesis.
is my thesis. This is my dissertation.
We're all arguing his thesis with him for his PhD.
Yes, let's
And you know what? I'm here for it.
let's
It's
go.
gonna be
It's think of it as your practice defense where we're actually helping you for the final test.
There you go. Thank you, Lexi. This is very exciting. I got to
never
figure
went
out
to
what my
school,
thesis
so
is.
it's great.
My thesis is I cry too much every episode of Avatar. Could I get a PhD in crying?
Valid.
Tear bending? We've established.
Empathy.
Tear
Empathy.
bending?
You
Yeah.
have the empathy.
Yeah. Heavy empathy
Heavy
in Avatar.
empathy.
Oh, so important to me. All right. So as we talked about, we're going to be dipping into the Fire Nation. But before we do that, I'd love to hear more about you two, what
Yes.
your passions are, what your backgrounds are. We obviously dropped a lot of impressive info into the conversation very early about each of you. Lexi, you and I have known each other for years. I've done at least one of your podcasts, possibly 2.
Oh man, it feels like more. Maybe,
We're always in
maybe just one.
conversation.
Yeah.
Which podcast did you do?
Let's talk
So,
about it.
okay, this is where my bio gets confusing because I do 3, and that was very unintentional. I started 1 and only wanted 1 as a pandemic project in 2020. So that is Ancient Office Hours. That's the one that Janet's been on. I interview a bunch of awesome, amazing people. I try to mix in academics and then people kind of in like media entertainment and like show that we can bridge ancient world history and mythology together, and I hope to bring them in dialogue. So so you've been on an episode, which has been so
Ancient
cool.
Office Hours.
So then I have an Assyriologist friend of mine, and we really wanted to collaborate, so we
What's
started
that word you just said?
Assyriologist.
Assyriologist.
Yeah, she studies ancient Mesopotamia.
Assyrian.
Oh, Assyrian.
Yeah.
Assyrianologist.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So she and I wanted to collab really badly, and we were like, well, we don't I don't know what to do because we're not in the same time periods. And so we decided we would create the Reading Party podcast. And so it's a purely reception-based podcast where we will watch movies and TV shows, read books based on or set in the ancient world, and we will review them from our perspective as ancient historians. And we'll have, guest hosts on to talk about certain things. So we might come calling because we're going to be covering Avatar for mythology season.
Let's go.
Dr. Varney, Dr. Basco.
Exactly.
I know
Come
a
to
lot
our
of
show.
Basco.
So
Ancient times.
Yeah, and then what's number 3?
And then number 3 is Legacies of Ancient Persia. That was the unintentional one.
And that's for UCLA.
That's for UCLA. So I moved out here at the beginning of 2023, like as soon as I graduated in Greece. So I had a week to move from Greece to LA. That was a trip.
I mean, if you're going to be studying ancient times, Greece is a good place to study.
It's a really good place.
So I
It's a
moved
really
out,
good
and then
Yeah.
my boss was just like, "Oh, you do the podcasting thing, right?" And I was like, "Yes, I do. Why?" And he was like, "Can you create one for me? I want one for our institute." And I was like, "Oh God, oh no, this is so much. I don't have time." Sure, I'll do it, of course. So I am the only one who does it because no one else
pretty
at work
wild.
knows how to help
This
me.
is the person that you tap, and this is why. It's that no one
Lexi.
else will do this. This is one of those things where, and I have to imagine that people in your life are like, yes, Lexi is a person who has a lot of passions and is going to do something about them, which I find very inspiring.
Thank you. Yeah, I think they always know I was going to do something. I don't think I anticipated, or did they anticipated it would be more like media focused. They were like, "Oh, she's great at writing," or she'll create some beautiful thing and then put it online for everyone to read, which was my original thought. And then I was like, but this is more fun.
But Lexi, you said a calling to ancient times, ancient things.
I did, but also there was just like a severe lack of any kind of podcast that I wanted as an ancient history, ancient world person, but who was more on the academic side.
Okay.
So I was like, let me bridge that gap, because there's a billion reception podcasts and there's a billion sort of purely academic ones, but they're very scripted. And you just kind of read the history.
Could be a little dry.
And the thing is, honestly, I was mostly inspired by like all of my professors in undergrad. Like some of them were like my favorite people in the world. And I thought it was so sad, right? That like, I asked classmates, do you go to office hours? Because I was talking about how I would go and like make great friends and like learn about their research. And it was so cool. And honestly, 95% of people I talked to never went to office hours. And it made me so angry. So I was like, I will just bring them to you in the form of something you can listen to.
Awesome.
There you go. Amy Tess, we got to unpack some stuff with you. Now, we met you in London, which is the place you call home. We met you a couple of years ago now, I guess it's been,
It
which
feels
is
like
shocking
a
to me.
lifetime ago.
It's
But yeah, I think that
nuts.
was May 2022, that Comic-Con.
That's right. That's right. And we got into a conversation about sort of like politics and the history and the way that the Avatarverse has been crafted so carefully and thoughtfully with respect to the dynamics between these different nations and all of that good stuff. But tell us more about yourself and what you've studied, and let's dig into your bio a little bit more.
Yeah, well, before I get into that, I just wanted to say to Lexi, because we haven't met until right now, I'm Persian and Egyptian. So I think it's so cool that you do a podcast about Persia, because I am all about that ancient Persia evangelism. No one talks about it enough.
This is what we do. We bring people together.
Yeah. But also, I really resonate with what Lexi said about wanting to bring certain types of knowledge into more accessible spaces. I think in a nutshell, that's kind of what I do, just in a different way. So right now I'm doing my PhD, and I study labor movements and social movements, trying to understand how they can be better, more effective. But I sort of came into that from doing political communications work in the US, in Michigan, where I'm from. So kind of trying to help like labor unions or grassroots organizations or student organizers be better at taking these kind of very complex ideas and distilling them into something that is more accessible for people and that mobilizes people. So that's sort of what I was really interested in before I started this PhD. Hopefully after this, I'll go into some kind of movement work back in the US, be part of the labor movement in some helpful way. But yeah,
That's what I'm talking
This
about.
sounds amazing.
Again, outclassed, out intellected.
Above my pay grade.
But that's why we love the Avatarverse, because these are the kind of people that we
phenomenal.
end up being drawn to, or who find us, or we find each other. because there's just a bunch of really thoughtful, empathetic people.
Of course.
And interested people.
Yes.
Interested people.
And looking at the show with these different perspectives is very fascinating.
Absolutely. Amy Tess, what speaks to you about Avatar with respect to kind of what your passion is and like what the sort of labor movements or political stuff? Like what speaks to you about it?
I mean, where to start? It's funny because I think I would have been 5 when Avatar came out.
Thank you, Amy Tess.
Me too.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you so much for that.
I didn't mean it like that, but just to say that
we're establishing your age. That's fine.
I watched it from the beginning. Like I was that kid in the pool that was trying to water bend, when I was a kid.
Oh, yes.
So it's not like at that point in time I was really attuned to the political implications of Avatar. I just thought it was a really great show. And I thought the characters were so cool and all of that. And as I got older, I started to realize just how hard it is to have meaningful messages in media that make sense to people and messages that actually take a stance on something instead of just kind of being very vague, right? And I know you all have talked about it before, but Avatar is just so great at that, right? It's great at showing what justice looks like, what like restoration looks like, what it means for people to actually take power into their own hands. And so I love it for all of those reasons. And now I'm kind of like obsessed. My friends and I, like, we have our mini podcasts all the time. We just sit and yap all day about Avatar and Korra and the political implications. So I love it because it's a great show, but also because it teaches us a lot about the world and ourselves.
I couldn't agree. I mean, you said it perfectly. This is a show that you can come back to, revisit year after year as you develop as a person, whatever you're going through, whatever you're interested in, whatever the world is doing. There's always this stuff, and we've said this ad nauseum, but like during the pandemic, it was like, wow,
so
was
poignant.
this written
so
for
poignant.
this time? Okay, no, obviously, but it might as well have been.
It's hitting hard
level.
right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the power of shows like this too. Just the last thing is like, it's not just about that it aligns with the current moment, but also that it gives us imagination, right? I think political imagination is so important, and like collective imagination about looking at a world that isn't the one that we have and thinking about how we can get there. And so that's why I love media and storytelling. I think it's so important.
I love that. Political imagination.
Political imagination. Those aren't two words that you necessarily hear side by side very often. But you have often said, and I hear it as well, when we're doing these conventions, that we do meet people who are like, this show shaped my values. Which
True.
I think every time we throw that at break, they're always like, whoa, that feels like a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? It's like, you already did it, guys. You're fine.
It's like,
the die is cast.
It's too late.
This is good. This is a good thing. But like, what an overwhelming thing to be told. But it's
can't
true.
imagine
It's
that,
true.
I know.
I feel like this is the kind of show that shapes better human beings. Like,
Totally.
And otherwise, what are we doing? Why are we doing this podcast? Yeah, it's cool. It's just cool.
It's cool.
Exactly.
It's also just fun, and that counts for a lot.
You're right.
So.
You're right.
true.
We're allowed to do that. Lexi, we now know Amy Tess has been with the show since the beginning. When did you discover it?
Okay, so I'm about to reveal my age. I was a bit older, so I have a very distinct memory of coming home. I was 10 in 2005. Yeah, I was 10.
This is crazy.
So
I was in the ancient times.
Yeah. Remember when we just had wagons? Just wagons.
Just wagons, just horses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So no, I was 10, and it's a memory that is stuck in my mind as one of the formative sort of memories, because I came home from school. I would always kind of go over to my friend's house because she lived like 3 blocks away from me. And we had this normal routine where we would like get snacks in our kitchen. There was a TV there, but we wouldn't always stay. We would kind of go because she had like a projector. It was kind of badass.
Right.
Back then in the
Let's
old
see
times.
Let's see it big in
yeah.
ancient times. Let's see it up there.
And so
moving pictures.
I mean, it was great, but then like I think so the TV was on and we were getting our Go-Gurts. Remember those things?
Get that Go-Gurt.
Go-Gurt.
So we were eating our Go-Gurts, and then I hear the TV in the kitchen just saying like, and now the world premiere of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I was like, this sounds kind of cool. I was like, do you mind if we just pull up some stools and stay here? Because I don't want to miss a single second. And she was like, okay, I don't like these cartoon things, but okay, we'll stay. So we did. And then we watched. And they did, I think they aired episodes 1 and 2 back to back. And we were glued to the TV. We were glued to it.
Yeah.
So she just loved it because she was like, oh, this is great storytelling. We're 10. But for me, it hit so much deeper at the time in a way I didn't even realize. Because, I am adopted. So my family's white. And I grew up in Chicago. So it's diverse. But I just went to a very sort of European school, right? So there's not a lot of diversity. So to see a show, though, that brings Asian cultures to life, that was my first real experience in being
Very cool.
wait, they're putting my culture and other Asian cultures on the screen, and it's good. It's not kitschy. It's not kind of a joke. So then I was like, I gotta watch the rest of this. So I watched it as it came out.
As I'm sitting here, I'm realizing that I think I have not name checked either one of you, but referenced both of you in past episodes, because I've been I'm talking about I have a friend who studies politics, and I met her in London, and she's super, she can see that side of it, and I know that I brought up your relationship to your heritage, and the way that the show affected it. You wrote me a letter that is a couple, but one that really I was you get those letters where you're oh okay, all right. If I die tomorrow, it's okay because I got to be part of this thing.
I love that your memory's a couple. I'm no, it was one very, very long letter, which made it embarrassing.
We had a long conversation about it afterwards.
I made the.
But it was very long.
I made the conscious choice to not, because Korra came out at a time where I had a lot going on, and so I was no, I want to save it for when I'm mentally ready to sort of take it on, and that just didn't come. I didn't get my chance because I was so busy doing a billion things, right, until the pandemic. So then I watched that, and I was so happy that I came to it as a fully formed adult with thoughts.
Right.
So I just felt all the things. So the minute credits rolled on the last episode, I just started putting pen to paper, and before I knew it, I had a 7 to 10 page letter written out, and I was I don't know what to do with this. I don't want to just bury it in a box. So I was oh, I'm gonna do that creepy weird fan thing that I'm sure everyone hates. So I was I guess I'll just send it off. And then I was
to Janet Varney.
Yeah, I was I don't know. I was she'll probably never see this.
My
She'll just burn it
goodness.
or something. Be oh no, someone sent me something crazy. So I just sent it off. Yeah.
Send it to Janet.
I fully gave Janet a letter at Comic-Con when we met too.
That is correct.
All right, I'm not the only one who does
That is correct.
this.
And this
Maybe
is what
it's a academia thing. We
It
write
is. I
down
think
things.
because we write our feelings.
What's going on here?
So well written. And I mean, I just based on what you just said too, I have to say, Amy Tess, I hope you're gonna be ready to come back also for Korra, because we get into some serious heavy politics in Korra. It's
I'm saving
unavoidable.
Korra too till I'm a fully formed adult. I am.
Dr. Bosco, you're gonna do fine.
I'm almost.
You're gonna get it.
But I get my share of letters too. Shout out to all the people who give me letters at cons and stuff.
Yeah.
They're very.
I'm sure they'll
very
also end up on the
heartfelt.
podcast.
It's possible. Janet's better. Janet's better. You guys get letters too. I do read them, especially that they're. I get wonderful letters.
I know you do. I know he does. He tells me about those letters.
Yeah.
Any favorite characters or episodes from Avatar: The Last Airbender? Amy Tess, let's start with you.
It's Katara. I'm such a Katara girly. I know we talk about her a lot. I don't think we talk about her enough. So any of my
She's
favorite
great.
episodes would be I mean, also I just feel she's misunderstood, she's a lot darker than people, I think, give her
dark.
credit
That's
for.
the selective. That's you're watching with a selective lens if you're not seeing that. And
Yeah.
I defend Korra through Katara a lot
She's
of the time.
imperfect
I'm hey,
for
whoa,
sure.
whoa. Hold up. You like Katara? You need to give Korra a little bit more of a chance, because
Yeah.
if you took Zuko and Katara and made them one person, now we're getting into some Korra territory.
Katara, it's just darkness. You're right. I mean, she steals stuff.
That's her number one thing.
She's
She
angry.
wanted to kill someone.
She's down to kill people.
She's threatened to kill multiple people.
She's a bloodbender.
But she feels things very deeply.
She
She's
feels
extremely
so
compassionate, but
about
she
it.
also, if you feel things deeply, that's a good chance that you're going to feel some rage in addition to feeling compassion or feeling hope, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. And I think any of my favorite episodes would be ones that focus on her, Southern Raiders, or the episode where she was bloodbending, or Serpent's Pass, I think is a good one, because it's
Serpent's Pass, great.
It's such a good. I think Katara is a very dark character who makes the active choice time and time again to choose the lighter side of her.
Right.
I don't think she's a goody two shoes in the way people
love
describe,
that.
because she has no problem breaking rules.
Agreed.
She does it all
That's
the
true.
time.
She was
It's
super
because
cold to her
she-
dad.
Yeah.
Remember how cold she was to her dad?
Shout out to Mae Whitman for that voice acting and that
She's amazing. Shout out to
scene
Mae.
in The Awakening, because that was some of the best, most emotional.
Oh,
I'll tear
that
bend every
scene
time
with
I watch
her
that.
and
Yeah.
Hakoda is beautiful
Yeah.
and very
Anyway,
relatable.
Katara.
It's not brave, it's selfish and stupid. We could be helping him, and I know the world needs him, but doesn't he know how much that we need him too? How can you just leave us behind?
You're talking about me too, aren't you?
How could you leave us, Dad? I mean, I know we had Gran and she loved us, but we were just so lost without you.
I'm so sorry, Katara.
Very relatable.
Love it. Talk to us,
Yes.
Lexi. What about you? Favorite characters?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. I've always been a Toph girl. I mean,
I see you rocking.
You know, rocking the Earth King. I mean, there was something
She's
about
great.
it. You know, I think it was both because, like, she was the smallest person on the show.
Right.
And I'm very small. I am 5'2", barely. But, like, you know, barely there. But I'm 5'2". And so I was always, like...
Barely 5'2"?
I'm barely 5'. Like, it's
So you're
embarrassing.
5'1".
I've cracked just over 5'2", okay?
Dr. Basco, this is not your time to argue.
That's not like that.
So it's fine. So, you know, on a good day, I'll be like, I'm more than 5'2". No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so like I think there was something about like, you know, I'm not blind obviously, but she was constantly like underestimated because they look at her and they're like, oh, you're a small little girl.
Yeah.
And that was me growing up. I was a small little girl, this string bean over here, and you're like, what does she do? And I was like, actually, I do a lot. But you wouldn't know that unless you talked to me or just saw me doing my thing. So I've always loved Toph. But strangely enough, and maybe now that I'm thinking about it, it's not strange, considering my love for history and mythology. My favorite episodes, obviously, yes, like I love everything Toph is in, The Blind Bandit, but Avatar and the Fire Lord, just because it gets so much into the history and the lore. I love that. So that's
episode.
I get to it and I'm always so excited because I'm like, yes, I want to see. Show me this history. Show me these like interpersonal dynamics. What is happening to cause this? Because obviously once I got older and I started looking sort of at the political structure of this world that they created, just considering the way my interests went, I was like, let's pay attention. Let's study this because it all starts because of people. You know, people were like, wars is like, it can be emotional, but also I know there's, you know, a bunch of ancient sources that are kind of like, but you have to strip out, you have to be sort of unemotional about it because, you know, this is life and death. And I'm like, okay, but war is always personal and it always will come back to like people and their emotions and not using their words. They need therapy. Okay.
That's a great point.
So I was just like, let's talk about this. So isn't you like anyone who's you know building up what's happening, I was like, do you want to talk about it? Do you want to use your words? Like, let's go to therapy together.
It says another therapist than the 100-Year War would have been.
Right? I was just like,
avoided.
come on.
Agree.
Sozen needs a therapist. I was like, let's talk about this.
That is gorgeous. No, that is such a great episode. And I agree with you. Like, one of the things that is so compelling about the Avatarverse and is also so tantalizing about it is that, you know, you get these little snapshots of past avatars, and that's why we're all so hungry for the graphic novels and, you know, the novels, like just understanding more about Kyoshi. Like, and I totally understand if you're a person who also just like watches the show and that's it for you. I totally get that. But I would say that if you're just bored on a rainy day, don't be afraid to dip into the non-television show stuff because it informs, like all of it swirls together until you're like, oh wait, now I have to watch Avatar again, and I'm going to be watching it from this other new perspective, right, Amy Tess? Or I don't know if you've checked out any of the written stuff,
big
but
time.
yeah, I knew you did.
No,
I knew you
I
did.
love the novels. FC is like, I don't know, a wizard because
wizard. I agree.
Huge fan of all of them.
Oh no, now we have to want to become wizards. PhD is nothing compared to a wizard. Now we have to become wizards. Thanks, Amy Tess. You're right. What about favorite hybrid animals? Amy Tess, talk to us. What do you like?
I know this is a common answer, but it has to be turtle duck.
Yeah, for the win.
Love
For
those
They're
sure.
just so great.
ducks. They're not
You
out
know?
to hurt
They're
anybody.
so cute. I feel like they exist somewhere in the world.
I kind of do too.
Somewhere.
They've become a part so much
Like
of
they're
my brain.
so real in my head that
Yeah.
I'm like, they're around, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the mark of a well-designed hybrid animal, is it looks like it could be real.
Yeah.
You know? Like I could imagine a duck somewhere with a little shell on top of it. So
Agreed.
Totally.
Yeah.
Can I imagine a platypus bear? It's more difficult. In real life, it is more. Or sheer shoot.
That'd be scary.
A little. That would be
Also
an
scary.
intense animal. Turtle duck. Yeah. I think you could sort of see how somehow that evolution would take place. Like, oh, the duck is just more safe in its turtle shell. Lexi, what about you?
Oh man, I was a horse girl growing up, so I actually really liked the idea of an ostrich horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, well, and then, you know, I was like, I don't know how comfortable those would be, but just I've always liked them for some odd reason.
Yeah, I think that'd be all right. I've seen people on an ostrich race.
On just right. You physically have seen
online.
Okay.
Online.
Please tell me you've been to an ostrich race.
I've
That
never
would make
been to
me
an
so
ostrich
happy.
race, but I figure you could ride those birds. If it's a horse ostrich,
Yeah.
a little more substantial, a little more substantial.
But you know what? Can I tell you the truth though?
Yes.
My favorite hybrid animal has not been created yet. Although I think I created it on Janet's podcast. I think I did. Because I was describing myself, and when she asked me how to describe myself, I said I am a vampire turtle.
Vampire turtle.
Because I was like, I don't like light and people, so I want a shell, but I need to be hidden from light. So I was like, vampire turtle.
So it's like a vampire bat. I do remember us talking about this, but I can't remember if I
Vampire
accused you
turtle.
of also being a vampire bat, because don't talk about vampire bats to this one. He'll talk about the bats that are like the size of a small man.
There's bats in the Philippines that are the size of small Filipino man. In the Philippines, there's a bat that's the size of a small Filipino man, and it has the head of a fox. I mean, thank goodness it just eats fruits, but that thing is the scariest thing you'll ever see.
Yeah. But vampire turtle, that does make sense.
Yeah.
What kind of hybrid animal would you be, Amy Tess? Let's throw that out there.
Ooh.
No pressure.
I've never thought
We did
about
not prepare
that.
for this at all.
I know.
Okay, I think maybe this is only a partial answer, but you know, in the finale, whatever those super fast eel things
Eel
are,
hounds?
yes. Yeah. Not aesthetically, I don't love that look, but the idea but the
Some of the
idea of
animals look a little
being
crazy.
able to just zoom around, you know, that quickly, be that nimble, that would be cool.
Oh, I would love to be more nimble. Let me just say right here, I would love to be more nimble. All right, we got to get into it.
All right, so big question. Let's start with Lexi. What's your favorite ship in the Avatarverse?
I am a huge. Oh no, you know what's coming.
What's
right?
coming?
You know what's coming.
I don't know.
I'm a Zutara fan.
Forever, let's go.
There it is.
Yup.
The question is Amy Tess, who loves Katara, is going to have some strong feelings,
Yeah.
possibly
Amy Tess,
either way.
what's your
I don't know
favorite ship?
I don't know what's going to happen.
I am a Katang girly,
Okay.
I have to say.
Balance,
But
baby.
I
We got it
totally
balanced right here on the
understand
show.
Zutara. I'm not aggressively anti-Zutara.
I like to have it
Okay.
represented on both sides.
I
like to
can
have it
dig it.
represented.
You know, canon.
Yeah,
Katang
I
is
just
cool.
think Katang is many of the I don't know, concerns people have about Katang. I just feel like you're not reading closely enough. I also
Many
think
of
there
the
are some
concerns
scenes.
people have about
I don't know. I
People
feel
also
like
have
some
a
of the
lot of
scenes
concerns
that
about
needed to
Zutara.
happen
A lot of
in,
concerns
There's
about
a lot of
Zutara.
concerns. There's a lot of concerns all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in season 3, I wish that Amy Katara had more one-on-one time, because I feel like there were so many conversations that needed to happen, and there's obviously so many things they have to pack in. But in my mind, I just convinced myself those conversations did happen, and then I'm on the Katang
They
train.
probably
They had
happened.
2 whole seasons. We had snippets of Zutara, and I was like, no, but she healed him slowly through
Yeah.
osmosis, kind of
Yeah.
healed.
No, she
his-
healed him.
his
She healed
heart.
him. You know,
So
she healed his heart.
it's just the payoff. I think would have been a bit bigger. He had such a great character arc. So I'm kind of he just the payoff to me would have felt a little bigger to have.
You know what
her.
though? I also love a good platonic friendship. The
Yes.
power of that. I feel like we should
Yes.
ship friendships more. You know? It doesn't all have to be about
love
romantic
that.
relationships.
This
And
is
in
true.
that sense,
This
I
is
feel like
true.
Zutara is so powerful.
Ooh,
I
that's
am
very
seeing them
true.
lifelong friends. Again, I'm not anti-Zutara, but
Yeah.
I just think that even their friendship is so
No, I can feel
powerful,
that.
and
The
they've got a lot going for
friendship
them.
is very cool. I don't know how May feels about Katara hanging out around Zuko with that friendship.
Yeah.
May's like, hold up a second. She's what?
Yeah.
She doesn't
She's
strike
a-
me as a jealous girl
she's
in
a
that
homie.
way.
May would
No.
just be like,
Whatever.
I guess it is what
In
it
fact,
is.
May and Katara would team up and make fun of Zuko. I feel like
It's possible.
they'd have a great time teasing
That's a
him.
really good point.
You know what? But I wanna bounce off, but also argue the point that why is it gotta be to me it just falls into the trope of Aang sees Katara, the first thing coming out of that iceberg, and then boom, he's in love with her for the whole show. So I'm kind of but don't we play into the trope of you rescued me and now I'm in love with you? To me, I was like, no,
true.
but let's focus on that beauty of the friendship of you rescued me, but I don't have to fall in love with you. To me, that would have been a little a little sweeter.
I think Aang
you know.
needs to date around a little more. He don't need first girl you see getting out the
I
iceberg.
was like, don't marry the first person you
As
see.
my friend, Aang, like I'm gonna tell you, shop around a little bit. You might come back to Katara, which is cool, but never go for the first. Wherever you get out of an iceberg, never the first girl. Never the first girl out of the iceberg.
I've never thought
around.
about this, but potentially also one of the first girls he's seen ever.
Yes,
Ever.
that's what I'm like. So don't let's
Like-
be friends for
Homie,
Yeah.
don't ever just fall for the first girl you ever see.
right. So I'm like,
You're in trouble.
If you love her, let her
Bro,
go.
you
Let
need
her
to
experiment.
do
And if she
something.
loves you, she'll come back.
Yeah.
I disagree, but if we got into it, we'd be talking for a long time. So
No, this is actually good
maybe
for
we
me
move.
because this is just eating into all the time we're supposed to be talking about the Fire Nation being great.
I know what happened to this Fire Nation conversation.
Well,
we're about to
getting
have.
there. We're getting there. We're getting there. But we got to know, before we move on, we got to know the big question.
Amy Tess, if you were a bender in the Avatarverse, what kind of bender would you be?
I would like to be a waterbender, but I think personality-wise, and if you ask any of my friends, they're gonna say firebender.
Fire
Oh,
Nation,
So in-
let's go.
okay.
I think because I'm just very like, I don't know.
And your nails are very
fire-
Fire
Your
Nation.
your
Look at
nails
those
are
nails.
fire.
The nails
Your
are dead giveaway.
Fire.
But the way I like to think about it is I am a waterbender in the way that Korra is a waterbender.
There you
which
go.
really means, like firebender personality, but also
yes,
all the waterbender qualities.
I
That's
respect
my
that.
ideal.
I deeply
Yeah.
respect that.
I can dig that.
I've always thought of myself as an earthbender, specifically because I wanted to be a metal bender.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was very stubborn growing up, so I was like, I could be hard-headed like a rock.
Yeah.
My parents definitely accused me once or twice of being stubborn like a rock, so I was like, it tracks, it's fine.
Yeah. Check.
So-
Check.
and I was always playing around in the dirt as a kid, and I was like, this is it. I'm in my element. I'm great. I mean, it probably had more to do with I loved Lord of the Rings, so I'd run around when I would be in nature and be like, I am exploring. But it's fine. All
So
about the earth.
Earthbender, all
Through
day?
and through.
Middle
Love it.
Earthbender, middle Earthbender.
Every single quiz on the internet that's like, what kind of bender are you? I've taken it, being like, okay, am I going to get some sort of split thing? Like,
Yeah.
You get like a secondary and a first Harry Potter house. I'm like, okay, I'll probably have a secondary bender. Every single quiz ever, earthbending. So I'm like, nope.
Good folks in the Earth Kingdom. Good
Thank you.
folks out there.
But also good folks in the
Fire Nation. Good folks in the Fire Nation.
It's not just the folks.
Famously.
It's not just the folks in the Fire Nation we want to celebrate. We want to celebrate everything about the Fire Nation that appeals. We could be talking about some landscape, the geography of it.
Yeah.
I remember just recently when we did the Southern Raiders, I was like, wait a minute, where is that? That guard's house is sweet. That former soldier's house is sweet.
Architecture
got a
out there is
little
great.
river to the sea. You got the cliff. You got the trees. Like
Fashion. I don't
Ember
think the
Islands.
gang hasn't looked as good as they've looked in Fire Nation fashion. The whole gang.
I mean, I like Water Tribe fashion also, but like whatever. Cool. And Earth Kingdom, what they were bossing say, there's some good stuff going on there. But no, very, very cool fashion. Very cool. I mean, listen, you think Fire Nation, you don't necessarily expect to see some of the beautiful landscape that you see once you're there.
And nice people.
I'm
There's
on
like a
board.
lot of villains.
Iceland.
There's all these
inspiration.
villains that people think about in the Fire Nation, which is, I'm not discrediting. We have done some things that are, not nice.
Not ideal. Some might
Not
say.
ideal.
Yeah.
People have concerns.
Yeah.
People have concerns. Amy
Complicated
Tess.
history.
Concerns about things that happen in the Fire Nation. However,
Yeah.
there are some really good folks from the Fire Nation.
Absolutely.
Good
If we
folks.
didn't have if the folks weren't wonderful, we wouldn't have those wonderful festivals. We wouldn't have theater. We wouldn't have good food. All of that is born out of the history of the Fire Nation being more than just someone like Sozin having a little problem.
I mean, crap.
And by
Grandpa
little, I mean
Sozin
huge.
is- he's not a good one. Sozin's not.
He's
I mean,
not the best.
he's
He needed
not
a
the
therapist.
best.
We've
He
established he
did.
needed a therapist.
He just needed therapy.
Let's
That's what I
not
love about
concentrate on
season 3,
Sozin.
though.
Let's not concentrate on Sozin. We know.
Tell us what you love about season 3, Amy Tess.
I don't think that the show could have finished without spending so much time in the Fire Nation. Yeah, so the gang could see that it's a real place that goes beyond Ozai and Empire and whatever, right? I think it's so cool.
I agree. And even think about Kuzan. We very early on, we get this little seed planted, and I think it's such an important reminder. And that talk about a sort of thrown away thing. It's Kuzan is oh, cool, he had a friend. Yeah. He was in the Fire Nation, whatever, Hotman.
Right.
But when you think about it from a storytelling perspective, like it's really important for us to know that Aang does not hold he's not holding something against the Fire Nation. He has positive associations with it. He's not coming into it with the same kind of attitude, despite everything that's happened, that Katara and Sokka have, because of course their experience has been extremely limited and extremely negative. So I think it's very cool that we have Aang coming in and just dropping those little nuggets in there. I think are really important to like reminding us that you don't have to just hate the Fire Nation. You don't have to be Jet.
No, I know.
No offense to you about your love of Jet.
A lot stems from the royal family.
Yeah.
The royal family
so little bit of
has some concerns.
There's some concerning
behavior. But there are also people that in the royal family. Let's not forget that Iroh is part of that royal family.
Well, what about Avatar Roku?
Let's not forget about Roku.
Fire Nation Avatar.
I mean, Roku, in and of
what
himself,
a delightful
good guy,
man.
Great guy, just doing good Avatar things. He just has a best friend that's a little power hungry. Yeah, came up with a plan to take it all over.
Yeah, big plan, big plan.
I get that concept. It's almost like if you were the Avatar and your best friend was the Fire Lord. Like if you didn't come up with that plan.
Yeah.
You have to come up with that plan. Like, who wouldn't come up with that plan? It's like, how is it possible that this is the cycle that my best friend is the Avatar and I'm the Fire Lord?
I know.
I think we have to take over the whole world.
Yeah. It sounds great.
You almost have to do it.
Until you do it.
You shouldn't do it. But the fact that they thought about doing it, it's not beyond... I get it.
Again, you cannot help but defend it.
I'm so with you, but hear me out. What if they
please
made the world a better place instead of
Sure.
conquering?
What a novel idea.
A lot of potential.
What a great idea.
And you're correct. That is the better choice, but I'm saying it's just not beyond thought that somebody would have been like, let's just take the Water Tribe, maybe also Earth Kingdom, and who knows? We might need the Air Nomads. We don't know. We'll take it or leave it.
Let me tell you something. I'm never gonna say it's outside the realm of possibility for a person to be greedy.
They're
That's
just
the easiest thought
But they
to
are
have.
salty because they're like their entire nation is confined to a pretty tiny island, right? They're like, we need more space.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you?
Let's
They're not
make this place
waterbenders.
a better
they can't just
place.
move the water.
I know.
Yeah.
They can't just raise another island. As needed.
I can't believe you. By the way, she just made a very. I mean, if you're gonna make a point about it, that's a pretty strong one. So you go ahead and use that at the next con you're at when you want to.
I mean, you can't
when you
just
wanna do a little
raise the
defense.
But when Sozin turned on his friend,
not great.
Not great.
Tough moment.
But I
tough
do
moment.
agree, though. Yes, there's good qualities about the Fire Nation. Very, very much.
Very much.
And as I say, the more I study politics, the more I'm like, there are good and bad people in every nation, every corner of the world, every group. So, not all Earthbenders, as much as I love the Earth Kingdom. The Earth Queen, seriously, in Korra was terrible.
Zahir?
Right?
Zahir?
Airbender? Yeah.
I mean, the Earth King himself was not the greatest.
He was just incompetent, though.
He
wasn't malicious. He was just
that
like
whole Dai Li situation.
The Dai Li, Fang.
But again, that stems from
Long
him being
Fang up in here.
incompetent because he doesn't know it's happening, right? He's
You
being
don't
lied
know
to.
what you don't know.
Incompetence is bad.
Yes. Like incompetence
Took a strong
leads to
stand.
bad things.
I'm going to agree with that. I'm going to go ahead and agree with that. We've talked about some of them. Obviously, we got to give shouts out and shout outs to May, to Ty Lee. We talked about him. We love him.
Great. You forget that they're Fire Nation sometimes. I mean, May for sure, but Tyler, I forget that she's Fire Nation because she's wearing that pink all the time.
She's so bubbly.
She's very bubbly.
Great circuses in the Fire Nation, obviously.
Great circuses, great
Phenomenal.
festivals, great spicy food. If you like spicy food, you're going to be so happy.
Fire flakes.
Fire
Let's
flakes.
not forget you cannot cook without the Fire Nation.
But
we brought cooking to the whole Avatarverse.
You did, but I have to admit though, I am sadly a huge wimp when it comes to spicy anything. So I don't think I'd survive very long in.
You might
Fire
stick with
Nation.
your Earth with your.
I'm
Earth
sorry. I was like,
Kingdom.
look, I love meats
Delicious.
and stuff, but anything spicy, I'm like, I'm out.
Some really good food showed up in the Earth Kingdom. I definitely.
Although you know what I
that.
like, so it's really funny and it's kind of gross, but the gross dough for Avatar Day that they didn't,
Yeah.
That reminds me of that, like the Pillsbury, like
Oh, totally.
eatable,
Yeah.
Just bake and you're ready.
Yeah.
And so I loved that as a kid. My mom got very concerned because she was like, "Oh my God, you're eating like raw dough. You're gonna die." But I was
That's what
like, "It's
everyone
fine."
said. We
We
all
all
were
ate-
told
we all
that we
ate
were going to
that.
eat raw dough and die.
So that's
That
what it
didn't
reminds
happen.
me of. So I'm like, I could eat that. So Avatar Day would be fine. It doesn't sound like it was as delicious as
You'd never catch that in the Fire Nation, I will say. They seem to
you're right.
spice their food.
Spice it
You're
There's
right.
color there.
They like to
Yeah.
cook it.
Yeah.
They like to spice it for obvious
Darn.
reasons. It makes sense. It just makes sense. Piandao. Hello.
Great.
Hello, amazing teacher.
Teacher.
White Lotus. We have White Lotus kind of unifying people across all of these different backgrounds,
True.
different beliefs, different upbringings, but like, united for a common cause.
Yeah, got Zhang in there,
Let's get
Zhang
Zhang in there.
Zhang.
Zhang went through it.
I mean, there's people. The deserter, he started off bad, but the deserter was, he was...
Hey, he came together with his brethren.
Came
from White
together.
Lotus.
He came together.
Got
Absolutely.
this.
Absolutely. Is there anyone forgetting that we're forgetting? I mean, even just when you see the sort of day to day of like, I love in the headband that Aang gets to engage with kids in the Fire Nation his age.
They seem cool.
And they're totally cool. There's a couple bullies
There's
in there.
one guy that
sure.
was not cool.
But
it's every-
these are good kids.
What about Lo and Lee? I would love to saw young Lo and Lee
No, don't no.
back on their days in Amber Island.
I don't
just
trust
hanging
him.
out in the two pieces.
I don't know
chilling.
much about him, and I don't trust him.
We don't
I
know.
think what I love though is it's just the whole gambit, right? You've got people who are amazing. You've got like Zuko who are actively doing work to undo what their nation did,
And
then
their
you've
very
got
own
people
work.
who are just normal.
Yes.
You've got the Painted Lady, where you're seeing that residents of the Fire Nation are
Painted
actively
Lady.
being hurt by what their country is doing.
Oh, I bet you love
the
that episode. You love
headband.
Katara,
Oh, I
and you're
do.
talking about like fairness and labor. Oh my
The
god,
intersection of my
that's for you.
primary interests for sure.
Shout out to the Painted Lady
Yeah,
episode.
yeah. No, the pollution that comes from the military. We should talk about that.
Oh, that's a good one.
Wow.
But
Yes.
I think that it's so powerful because first there's the lesson of there's good people in the Fire Nation. We can't project an entire nation's politics onto its residents. That's the
Right.
first lesson. But then the other is like kind of flipping it, where that first perspective is from the outside, as if we were the gang or non-Fire Nation residents. But I also think about the power of the people in the Fire Nation of just like, what is your responsibility, even if it's not your fault, to undo what your country is doing, to like actively work against that. And I think that's something that I personally think about a lot, as an American. So there's a lot of power
Great
in that
point.
as well, of thinking about how people in the Fire Nation are being very brave and making active choices to kind of do their duty to bring justice to the world. I think that's a very powerful message.
That's beautiful. And
That's beautiful.
And also, like, just going back to the headband for a second, there you see, not unlike what the Earth King has experienced in terms of what his limited scope is as what is presented to him, we see Aang being like, whoa, this history is inaccurate. Like, you're not teaching your kids about the truth.
Is that a trick question? The air nomads didn't have a formal military. Sozin defeated them by ambush.
Well, I don't know how you could possibly know more than our national history book, unless you were there 100 years ago.
I'll just write down my best guess.
So if he comes into the equation, it's like, oh, wait a minute, like maybe kids should ask questions about, what they're taught and what it means to be taught that. And is there more information out there and all that kind of good stuff too. So,
I mean, it's,
Absolutely.
honestly, it's a huge reason I love the Sun Warrior civilization. I mean, obviously it's ancient, so obviously I'm going to love it. But, because that really, that goes in, that's like tying mythology and the
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
And let's talk about those ruins, man. I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, they're so cool. And I do have a fascination, I will say, with all of the architecture, specifically in the Fire Nation for some reason. I know it's influenced by Asian architecture, which I found was really, really cool. Specifically from China, which is interesting. But I don't know. I picked up a minor in art history and archaeology, so I notice a lot of the like finer details of buildings, which is a really odd flex, but it's fine. I do
flex it.
Like-
This is the
Flex
place to do it.
You
Well,
know.
that's a great point about, not just with the Fire Nation, but like the idea of taking what you have established to be the truth about the elements and the people and then mixing it with real history. Like so much of what they were designing was also like, well, what do we know about firebenders? What do we know about the Fire Nation? Well, what do we know about, how does this element behave, and how would that kind of help shape the environment as well, above and beyond spicy foods, So I think that's I'm glad you brought that up.
There's this one video on YouTube called A Lesson in World Building, and they go through each of the nations. And the Fire Nation one, it's like a whole lecture, and you really realize how much thought has been put into the world building to the point where you don't even notice because it all feels right. But the fact that you don't notice is like even the creator pointed out that like the geography of the Fire Nation, if you look at the map, it looks as though it at some point broke off from that main continent, and there's the divots, and that at some point there was probably a land bridge and people came over. Or if you see the natural resources that the Fire Nation has, like it sort of made sense that they needed to be imperialist and expansionist, because unlike other nations, their main resources were fire and coal and like being industrial. They have some crops, but so just all of these small things, and the architecture coming from like there's a lot of gold, and gold is like a resource that the Fire Nation has had. I just think it's so well done.
I mean, all the beautiful like terracotta roofs and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, they're beautiful. But of course it makes sense. Like that's what you kind of have to have.
It's so good. Yeah, that is this is like world building 101. Like great place to start is the Avatarverse for sure.
Great world building makes it feel so real.
Yeah. Do y'all have a favorite like place or person or both in the Fire Nation?
Yeah, no, there's so many great locations. I love so many, but I'm catching up, and I just watched the episode right before the invasion, and the island, whatever it's called, I think it's called like the Black Cliffs or something. But the island where they are for 4 days, that looks so gorgeous. I was like, I want to go there, and I want to sleep on a bed of clouds, just like hang.
Yes.
And I was like, let me just chill there. It's very relaxing.
Nature-y.
Very naturey, very relaxing.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking about the episode The Runaway, where they're camped out in that cliff area. Yes. There's so many places that they
so many lagoons and like
gorgeous.
Just like beautiful.
And in the the Sword Master episode, where Sokka has to paint the rainbow and the waterfall. Gorgeous. Like the Fire Nation has such incredible landscapes. As far as favorite person in the Fire Nation, that one's tougher.
Yeah,
there's a lot of great people in the Fire Nation.
It's hard not to pick Iroh for me.
I mean, Iroh.
But Zuko.
Zuko also, yeah, of course.
But see, I feel like I try to be cool and edgy. I'm like, I'm not gonna pick one of the two most favorite, just to be different. But
if you want to pick a peripheral character too, we can make it about that. What about Ursa? What about Ursa, who brings this,
very valuable. You know what I will say though, I really have a soft spot in my heart for Ty Lee. Also because since I can't bend in real life. I remember the first time I saw her with her chi blocking, I was like, that is so cool. I wish I could actually learn to do that in real life, because then I would be so deadly. Like, don't attack me on the street. I will just like pressure point you, and I will be amazing. So I was like, Ty Lee.
Amazing.
And she's bubbly and loves the circus.
I mean, we got to shout out Azula. Even though,
she's crazy, but I love her.
You brought up Azula.
I gotta bring up Azula.
Shouting out Azula.
She's my sister.
I love her. She's crazy.
Hate her.
I don't want to like be in a room with her, but
she's definitely
hilarious.
one of my favorite characters on the show. Gray DeLisle does such an amazing job voicing her, but also just the character is so dynamic and
so
memorable, great, in great fashion.
Amy says, what's your favorite thing about Azula?
Like from a character writing perspective,
whatever
or her
you
as
want.
A person?
It's a totally open question. Whatever you want.
I think that we could all learn from Azula's commitment to precision. I do think that.
Oh, good answer.
It sort of ended up being her downfall, I will say. But that was because it was a positive trait mixed with a lot of like trauma and pressure and stuff. But if you just take out that positive trait, I really love like the reason why she is the master that she is and the prodigy that she is. We take it for granted, but she cares about the details. And she is always 10 steps ahead of everybody. Like
she is definitely always 10
in the Eclipse episode when they were so pissed that the whole they were so prepared, and it was just because Azula like knew that information.
She's the worst.
Prepared the entire country. Yeah, no, she's the worst and the best at that for sure.
Dad's all the way at the end of the hall, then down a secret stairway on the left. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to see you now.
I fell for it.
As far as good people in the Fire Nation, like shout out to that one fire sage. I
was thinking about that too.
Oh, Shayu. Yes. I love him. He's so amazing.
And it's such a good example of those small moments where you have Zuko, who, you know, turns away from everything to kind of help the cause and bring down the Fire Nation. But then there's all those small normal people who are like taking those steps. And the Fire Sage, like Zuko already had lost a lot, you know, so like he was already on his way out. But this guy is sacrificing his life, like his standing for this cause. So shout out to him. I wouldn't say he's like my favorite character. We don't get much from him, but a good lesson.
No, I think, you know? I love that you brought him up. I'm gonna go ahead and say, you know who's not making my list of favorites? Combustion Man. Not my favorite. Buster?
He's yeah, but he's powerful.
I don't care for him.
We still don't know why
controversial statement, but I don't care for him.
His firebending is so much stronger than everyone else's. It's I don't we still, you know, and then he has that third eye.
Yeah.
Where did he get that third eye? How does that work?
Well, I mean, listen, I don't like him. Do I want to see his entire? You want his entire backstory for sure. So,
I do want his backstory.
You can love learning about someone and be interested in where they came from, and also still have them not be your favorite.
I mean, look, man, half of the Heroes group, I'm like, what's your story? What's your story? I want to know who damaged you.
I know.
Why do you?
And that's the right question to ask. I think that's the right question to ask.
You know.
I just hired him. I found him on Craigslist, and he was willing to do the job.
Although, okay,
good price.
We don't know, but I have a theory. But maybe I'll save that for Korra. But it's fine because I do have a theory. But we would, if we got into it, I'd never stop talking.
All right, tuck that away. Mm-hmm. We definitely are amassing a lot of material to talk about in Korra. That's not a bad thing. Any final thoughts on all the good people in the Fire Nation? Anything good about the Fire Nation? Dante, I want you to feel like we touched on everything, and I want you to feel like we robbed you of any moments.
I mean, everyone out there, just come visit the Fire Nation. It's great, great beaches. Islands, different great landscape, architecture, food. Great place to visit. Great place to maybe get a second home.
Great theater, maybe.
Great theater.
Definitely theater.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Great shopping.
Great shopping.
So I mean,
Yeah.
Fire Nation, come visit anytime you like.
You just got to be careful, right? Because a lot of these good things that are like good can be warped. I mean, like they have this great culture theater, but the thing that always gets me every time is I'm like, you are using this for evil because you are basically using your great theater skills to have imperialistic propaganda. So I'm like, no, just theater.
Schmanda.
You know what though? It's interesting you say that because I had a slightly different thought on that, which is that it's not like they're using these things for propaganda. It's that they're erasing this cultural history for propaganda, right? Like there's that one scene in the headband where Aang is teaching the kids the moves in the cave because they're being so awkward. And he's like, no, here's an old Fire Nation dance move that I knew. And it's such a small thing, but it's like, there is such a rich cultural history from this country that is actively being erased in the name of like
I'd like to
this
think
political agenda.
When Zuko took over, a lot of these things were
there
were some reparations that went on.
I hope so.
So thank you both so much for joining us, for helping us get smarter, helping us with our PhDs.
And talking all about Fire Nation. It's really, it's a
Gotta
pleasure.
celebrate it.
It's a pleasure.
No, this was so fun. Love talking about the Fire Nation with the OG.
Yeah, I know. I never
Nation
get to talk about it because
so.
Usually I'm always over here in the Earth Kingdom, but it's nice to be drawn out of my shell.
Love it. So glad that you were able to be drawn out of your turtle duck shell. Where can people find you? What would you like them to check out, if anything, on your end?
So I am at Lexi Henning on all the social medias. If you want to follow my nonprofit, and you can find information about the podcast there, everything is at the Ozymandias Project. So yeah, that's business. And then if you really want to contact me for any reason for like work stuff for UCLA, you can just find me on our institute's website. So that's portavood.ucla.edu. So yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Amy Tess, what about you?
Amy Tess.
Yeah, I don't have a super strong online presence because I'm very much in a academia writing hole these days. But
nothing wrong with that.
I do like to talk about politics and share resources for people to get plugged into things. And I'll probably be doing a lot more of that in the future. So my Twitter is AFMGIRGIS. That's my last name. And then Instagram is the same, but with afm.girgis. So
Awesome.
you can
Great.
follow me there, and feel free to message me if you want to do some cool organizing work in your area. We can talk about it.
Amazing.
Oh, what a great elevated discussion. I love it. But guess what? We still laughed and it was still fun. So all of those things are possible and more on Braving the Elements. Thank you, everybody. And we'll talk to you next week.
See you next week. Did you know you can hear bonus episodes of our award-winning podcasts?
Subscribe to Avatar Braving the Elements Premium on Apple Podcasts for early access, exclusive content, and ad-free episodes.
I'm so excited!